In this lecture, we are going to develop a beautiful student teachers app in the Applab on code.org. So the first thing that I would like to show you are the different screens which I've already designed for you guys. So this is the first screen. Configure this screen in such a way that if it is a teacher, he would be redirected on this teachers panel. Fine. And if the user is a student, he will be redirected on the students panel. Fine. Now how I have designed this teachers panel, that's what I would like to tell you. So you can come on this Google Images. Fine. And here you can search for teacher with chart gif animated, something like this. If you'll type over here, so these are a couple of good images you're going to come across. Fine. So if you want, you can make use of this one also. This is also a very beautiful image which you can make use of for that teachers students app. If you want, you can go for this one also. Fine. So that's how you can get such some beautiful images which you guys can make use of. Let's come back on that app. Now here, right on the top, I have defined an image button. See, this is a simple image button that I have placed in the background like this. And on this image button, this is the text area component which I have selected from this design toolbox and I've placed it over here. Now in order to define a specific background for this text area, what I have done, I have selected green in the background. Okay, and then we have this image button over here. Okay, and the hand which you're seeing right now on which is getting reflected right on the head of this image button, you can get it very easily from the icons library of this Applab. So these are a couple of icons that you guys can make use of. I have made use of this one. Fine. Then comes this thing. So this is a simple label box, and then these two are again two different image buttons, and these are the icons which you can easily get from the icons library of the Applab. Then this is the input text box. So in the placeholder field, I have written score. Fine. And this is the text area. Fine, which you are seeing over here right in the bottom. And these are two buttons which I have defined using this button facility available in the design toolbox of the Applab. So that's how I have designed this beautiful teachers panel. So come on that students panel. So here also right on the top, this is an image button which I have defined. Fine. Now how can you get this kind of beautiful image on Google Images? So what you have to do, you have to type over here students with green board clip art. So now when you'll type this thing in the search bar of Google, automatically these are a couple of beautiful images you're going to come across. See? Fine. So if you want, you can make use of this one also. It is also a very good image. Fine. Then this is also a very beautiful image you can make use of for designing the students panel. Before you start developing any app on this platform or on any other platform, make sure that the idea is clear to you. What kind of design you would like to define for that app, what kind of coding, what are the different things, what are the different components you would like to define on different panels you will be using for that app. Fine, that should be clear to you. Means the planning is the most important part. Fine. If you're clear with the planning part, you will be able to implement every idea you have in your mind in a great way. Now let's come on this coding panel, and I am going to come on this sign in screen. Okay, and now we have three different components on this sign in screen. One is this sign in user component, then it is sign in password, and this one is sign in. Now I'm going to code this sign in screen in such a way that if the user is a teacher, when he will hit this button over here, he should be redirected on this teachers panel, and if the user is a student, he should be redirected on the students panel. Okay, so for that we can have this on event block over here in this workspace. Now in the I need to convert it into block based coding, of course. So in the first drop down over here, let's select the ID of this button. So it is sign in. I am selecting sign in from here, and S is in capital. So we need to select a different sign in. Yeah, this is the one. So now when the user will hit this sign in button, what should happen? See, if he will enter teacher in both these fields, I would like him to get redirected on the teachers panel. Otherwise, he should be redirected on the students panel in case he inputs student in these two fields. So for doing that, we can convert into text-based coding, and inside this on event block, let's make use of this if else loop. Okay, I'm going to put it over here. Inside this if loop, let's define a condition with which we can put a check on these two fields over here. So if see, first of all, I would like to match the details which the user is going to enter over here. So the ID of this component is sign in user. So we can come on this designing panel and copy the ID of this component from here. Okay, let's come back on the coding panel and paste the copied ID in between these two double inverted commas like this. So if it is equal to teacher, fine, and besides that I would like the teacher to enter teacher in this password field too. So that's the reason I need to make use of this AND logical operator first, because I would like both the conditions to be satisfied by the input which the user is going to make in these two input boxes. Let's paste it over here, and let's change this sign in user with the ID of this component, which is sign in password. So we can copy it from the designing panel like this, and we can place it in place of this sign in user like this. So if the teacher will enter teacher in both these fields, then only he should be redirected on this teachers panel. So for doing that, we can make use of this set screen block, which you can easily find in the UI controls section of the toolbox. So let's do it. I'm going to place it over here, and the ID of this teachers panel is teacher. So let's replace this with teacher. Fine. And besides, if you want to make this app more interactive, so we can add a sound, or we can add a speech to this if loop over here. Let's write down welcome teacher. Fine. So this is what the teacher is now going to hear once he is there on this beautiful teachers panel. Else what should happen? Let's make use of this if loop, and I am going to define it like this. So it is an if else if ladder that I am using over here. Fine. Now if the user will enter student in both these fields, I would like him to get redirected on this beautiful students panel. Fine. So that's why I am changing the ID over here from teacher to student. Okay, and here I am changing this teacher to student like this. We can do it. Okay, so I'm done with defining the required code for this beautiful sign-in screen. Now let's come on this teachers panel. Suppose the teacher want to, there are 4 different students, and the teacher want to give them some question to attempt. So how can she do that? She can write down the question over here in this text area, and when she will hit this image button over here, the question is going to go on the panel of the students. how can we make this happen? That's what we need to think. If suppose there are 4 different devices, on the first device it is the teacher who is accessing the teacher's panel, and on the rest of the 3 devices there are 3 different students accessing the student's panel. If you want the data to be transferred from one device to some other device or devices, then the best way is to store the required data in a table like structure first on the data browser connected to this app, and after that we can make use of read records block for reading the data and fetching the required data on the other devices. Fine, this is the concept which I am going to make use of now. Okay, so listen to me very attentively. Okay, now I am going to first define an uneven block for this image button over here. So let's do that. I'm placing it over here. Let's convert it into block based coding, and right in the first drop down I'm going to select the ID of this image button. So the ID of this image button is send. Let's select send from this drop down, and when this teacher will hit this send button, what should happen? So whatever question he's going to write down over here, I would like it to get saved in a table like structure on the data browser connected to this app. Let's convert it into text based coding and make use of this create records block, which is there available in the data section of the toolbox. So I'm going to place it inside this uneven block like this. Fine, let's replace this my table with, let's say, questions. Okay, so now here the only thing that I would like to get stored is this question which teacher would like to send to the students. So for doing that we can replace the name of this field to question, and where can we get the value for this field named question? We can get it from this text area, right? The ID of which is again question. Okay, so I'm writing question over here. Once the teacher is done with sending the question, I would like him to get a notification also about the same. So let's make use of this play sound block. I'm putting it right inside this uneven block just after the point where this create record block is ending. I am converting it into block based coding, and let's come down, and from this drop down over here I'm going to come on this sounds library of Applab. Now from here I am going to select a relevant sound. So let's go for this one. This is beautiful, right? Let's go for this one. Okay, let's now run this app and see whether we will be able to get the required output or not. So I am hitting this run button. So as you can see, I am there on the sign in panel. Okay, and here I am going to write down teacher, and here I am writing teacher again. Okay, let's hit this login button and see where this button is going to redirect us.
Welcome,
Okay,
teacher.
so we are on the teachers panel right now, right? And if I will write student in this field and student in this password field 2, let's see what are we going to get. So as you can see,
Welcome, student.
I am there on students panel right now. So the code that we have defined for this sign in button right on the top in this workspace, it is working perfectly fine. Right, now let's check out the code which we have defined for the send button, which is there on the teachers panel. So I'm running this app again, teacher, and here also I am writing teacher because I need to access the teachers panel. Let's hit this login button and see what's gonna happen. So I am there on the teachers panel. Right, now I'm going to write down a question over here in this text area. So it is, what is the full form of WHO? Okay, Suppose this is the question which the teacher would like to give to the student to attempt. So she can hit this button over here after writing down the whole question. Let's see what is going to happen. So right now, there is nothing on the data browser connected to this app. Let's see what is going to happen when we will hit this button. Okay, so as you can see, a table named questions has got created on the data browser. Let's see what do we have inside this questions named table. Okay, so we are able to see the question which we have written over here on this board kind of thing, right? So the code which we have defined for the send button is also working perfectly fine. Now how the students will receive this question on their panel, that's what we have to think. Okay, so let's come on that student panel. So there is a label box which I've placed right on the top on this image button. So the ID of this label box is get question. Let's define an uneven block for this get question label box. Here I am going to select the ID of this label box. So where it is, okay, this is the one. Let's convert it into text-based coding. Now, as you can see over here, it is written click me to get the question. So the student is going to click this label box in order to get the question which the teacher has broadcasted. Now what is the code we can define over here inside this uneven block for fetching the question from that questions named table? Fine, and get the question reflected over here on this board in this label box. So what we can do, we can make use of this read records block, because right now what we need to do, we need to fetch the relevant information from a table which is there present on the data browser. So that's the reason we need to make use of this read records block. We can place it over here. We would like to fetch the details from this questions name table. That is the reason we need to replace this ID with the name of the required table from which we want to get the information. So it is questions. Okay, now I am going to write down a code over here with which I can set the text of this label box equal to the question which the teacher has recently broadcasted. So for doing that, we can make use of this set text property, and here I need to mention the ID of this label box first. So it is get question, and from where can I get the details of this part? I can get it easily from records I dot the name of the column in which the questions are getting saved. It is question, right? So I need to mention question over here like this. Fine, and besides let's make it more interactive by adding a sound to this uneven block we have defined over here in this workspace for this get question label box. So for doing that, let's make use of this play sound block. I'm going to place it over here. Fine, and let's convert it into block based coding. Now I'm going to change the drop down. Let's select a relevant sound from this sounds library of the Applab. Let's come on this bell category, and from here I'm going to select this one. Okay, fine. So I'm done with changing this URL over here for this play sound block. Now I am going to run this app on 3 different browsers. Let's see what are we going to get as an output. So on this first one, I am going to access the teachers panel, and on these 2 devices I am going to access the students panel. So you have to assume that this is the first device, and this is the second device, and this is the third device. Let's enter the required login credentials over here for accessing the teachers panel.
Welcome teacher.
Here I am going to access the students panel.
Welcome student. Welcome
Okay.
student.
So currently I'm accessing teachers panel on this first device and students panel on these two devices. Let's now give a question to these two students. So for that I need to write down the question over here. What is the capital of Gujarat? Okay, suppose this is a question which the teacher would like to give to these two students. So first thing, after writing the question, which she has to do is she needs to hit this image button over here. Okay, now in order to get the question on the respective panels, these students need to hit this label box which we have on this board, green board over here. Great. So okay, so both the students are able to receive the question on their respective panels. Right. Now, how they can answer this question, what all things they have to do for submitting their response, that's what we are going to learn in the next lecture. Hope you guys enjoyed this one a lot. Do like and share this video so that more and more students can join in and learn these coding things free of cost. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye bye.